League of Legends is a really old game, and sometimes I forget about that. Like, the original League of Legends were released in 2009, and I've been playing since 2014. So I kind of forget that League of Legends is a really old game because it's been updated in so many ways. But the one way that there hasn't really been that much of updates is how you control League of Legends. It's always been the point and click to move with QWER for spells and the two hotkeys for summoner spells, and then, the number keys for items if you use active items. But the thing is, not a lot of games use this point to click control method anymore, and in fact, most games have moved on for it. Even games like that are traditionally point and click or click to move, like a Path of Exile. The Path of Exile 2 has native WASD control movement with the regular movement, which is what most people are used to nowadays, especially on PC, because, first-person shooters like Fortnite, Warzone are some of the more popular games. And even if we go to not first-person shooters or shooters in general, even if we go to like the Robloxes, still most games use WASD. Counter-Strike, one of the more popular games as well, WASD. League of Legends is pretty much one of the only games that still uses click to move other than Dota 2. And Dota 2 has WASD, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I was slightly wrong. You can move the camera around with WASD, which kind of makes sense. And honestly, might be a thing you could actually maybe do for League of Legends as well, but that's a different thing, I guess. But the reason I've been going on this tangent slightly is because League of Legends finally has the WASD movement in the game, at least in casual modes. And I was playing it, I tested it out, and I have to say, for me personally, a person that is a veteran of League of Legends at this point, it hurts my brain, and I don't think it's very good. But these controls aren't made for a player like me. They're just simply not made for it. They're made for people who aren't playing League of Legends, who want to play League of Legends. Now, you could joke that if anyone suggests you should play League of Legends, you shouldn't be their friend anymore, and I totally understand that. But I still think League of Legends is a fun game, no matter how insane that of a take that might be. So getting new people into League of Legends is something that Riot is trying to do. And with WASD, I think it's a really good move forward because from what I played in my ARAM games, you're not losing too much. It's actually easier, in my opinion, to do micro movements with WASD because you can just tap the keys or you're constantly moving. And kiting with AD carry is so much easier with WASD that if it was in the normals, if it was in regular matchmaking, honestly, if I was playing AD carry, I might use that. Now, is it better inherently? I don't think so, because the problem with WASD movement is that you can only move in 8 directions. So it is kind of harder to dodge spells, in my opinion. But once again, I'm only playing an ARAM, so it's 5v5 one lane, right? So there's a lot of things that are hard to dodge when you're 5v5 one lane. So obviously it's not a huge indicator of what is to come. But when it comes to the regular game modes, I can see things like jungle movement being really annoying because you constantly have to go diagonal or like up, down, up, down. Like you're going to constantly have to do a point to point to point because you can't just click and go the proper way because the jungle wasn't designed with WSD in mind. So that could be a problem. And once again, I think it's harder to dodge spells because your movement is much more predictable. And also with the camera controls, it was a little bit harder for me to use longer range spells because the smart camera, while I think is good, is a me problem because I have played League of Legends since 2014, which is why, once again, I'm saying that it's a noob tool. And I don't use noob as an offensive term. If you're new to League of Legends and you're a noob, I think the WASD controls will be a really good onboard. And if you feel inherently weaker because of it, then you can slowly get into the click to move. But I think honestly, for the majority of players, WSD is going to be totally fine. Because no, they're not trying to hit Grandmaster. Or not Grandmaster, sorry. They're not trying to hit Challenger. That was the StarCraft 2 in me. They're not trying to hit Challenger. They're just trying to get good enough to have fun. And which is what most people play League of Legends, I feel like, do nowadays. Because like some of the more popular game modes is like Arena and ARAM. The ranked crowd is still really dedicated and hardcore. But most people are still just playing to have fun nowadays. And I think one of the biggest problems that League of Legends was having with newer players is the movement controls. Just controlling the game is weird for modern players. Like, if when I grew up with like StarCraft and Warcraft, the RTSs, the Age of Empires, the original Diablos in PC gaming, click to move is pretty normal. But like basically only MOBAs use that nowadays. And so unless you're a MOBA veteran, this control scheme is really weird. And even games that normally have it are moving away from it, like I said earlier. So I think this is a barrier of entry that isn't needed because the WSD controls are very well thought out because it's WASD, left click to use your ability, Q to use your ability, shift to use your ability, right click to auto attack, and then R for your ultimate still. Oh no, and sorry, it is Q and E to use your summoner spells. And then it is left click, shift, E, R. Alright, sorry. So it's left click is your Q ability. Sorry. Left click is confirm cast, right click is ability 1, shift is ability 2, E is ability 3, R is still ultimate, and then Q and F are summoner spells, and C is cancel. So it's interesting because when I was playing, it hurt my brain. I would constantly flash I would constantly use summoner spell 1 because that's on Q, and I would try to use Q as an ability. You know, but that's just my muscle memory. So that's not necessarily a problem of a new player of accidentally hitting muscle memory keys, but is useful for a new player because I felt like a new player all over again. I was literally having to look at my keyboard to know which button. Like I had to think about what button to press in order to actually use an ability. And it's been so long since I've actually felt like that it was kind of refreshing, honestly. Like I was like, wow, I do feel like a complete noob playing with this layout. And it was really messing with me. But overall, I think this is a good decision, and I really hope they continue with this. And playing it in the casual modes makes sense. Though, honestly, when I looked at the Q&A, it says you can do it in draft pick, which I haven't seen that option. Maybe it's just in certain regions, or if this is on the PvE. This might be on the PvE that I'm looking on this current Q&A. So, for me, at the time I recorded this stuff, it was only in aram. And I think this is just a really smart decision. I'm kind of sad it took this long, because I feel like they've been talking about this movement style for a while, and it took a really long time for them to add this, but I understand that they're also working on other things, and I'm curious how this is going to tie into 2028, because they said they're basically combining the League client with the gameplay client. So I wonder if that means like that's when you're gonna have the WSD stuff fully integrated with all the game modes, because maybe they're waiting on that because of the time it might take to implement that. And honestly, that'd be kind of interesting. But even without it, I'm really glad that they're still looking at new players, because I was getting kind of worried about Riot not paying attention to newer players, because the new player experience for League of Legends is awful unless you have someone to play it with you, and then maybe it's better, but it's still really bad. And that also depends on the type of person that you have with you when you're a new player, because if you have a hardcore ranked player with you, that's gonna just suck, because first of all, if he's using his own account playing regulars with you, man, that you're gonna get stopped because of his elo, which really sucks. Because basically, if you want to be a new player, you just have to be okay with losing a ton of times. And while I personally am okay with that, because I grew up with like StarCraft when it comes to multiplayer games, and I lost a lot in the beginning, still do. So it's a bad thing for a new player's experience just to get destroyed for like 20 games, it feels like, maybe even more. And when I was using the WSD controls, I was like, this is how a new player would play, because I was literally like having to like stop and think about what key to press. And waiting a second in League of Legends is like an eternity. It is like 4 years in game time, basically. Like it takes so long to stop doing what you're doing for a second and think about a key to press and hit it. It is insanely terrible. And I think while a new player would still probably be doing that, it'd be less so because they're not so weirded out about the click to move. Now, do I think it's going to be optimal to use WSD? Do I think everyone's going to have to change into it? While I'm not a big ranked player, and you know, the highest I ever got was gold, even with my limited knowledge of high tier League of Legends, I don't think so. Simply because the movement is very limited, and you become pretty predictable of where you can and can't go. And it feels like being able to fast click away, or like doing insane micro movements for higher tiers, which is more important, it's almost impossible to do with WSD. And especially with pathing. Pathing in the jungle, I see WSD just being impossible, because 2 seconds, clearing camps for 2 seconds longer is a big deal in competitive and higher ranks. And WSD is inherently inefficient movement, unless you're going to top lane so you can just hold W, or maybe bot lane so you can just hold D. But like going basically anywhere else, it's inefficient because you have to go diagonal, you have to do the zigzag constantly depending on where you are. So it really feels like it's not going to be necessary for pro play or high ranked play. The one interesting thing is if you could quick swap to WASD if you're playing AD carry to kite easier during certain team fights. That would be interesting if you would if you could have a hotkey to swap to WASD, because kiting is the thing that is by far the easier thing to do with WSD. Kiting as AD carry is so much easier with WSD. It is insanely easy. You just hold the W, you hold whatever keys backwards, depending on where you are, and just hold your mouse over them and hold auto attack button. Now, is it technically efficient? I think technically you could be more efficient with right click to move, perfectly weave autos into your attacks with the movement, but the amount of skill and effort that happens, I doubt even pro AD carries are going to be able to do perfect micro every single time. So good micro, I think, is better than bad micro, which is a dumb thing to say when you say it out loud, but like maybe a better way to say it is inefficient micro is better than perfect micro, because you're never going to get perfect micro every time. So it's better to do the inefficient thing slightly better than try to do the perfect thing every time, because the perfect thing isn't going to happen. You know, we're not gods. No one's a god tier player. No one's going to do the perfect trick every single time 100% of the time. I don't care who you are. Even players like Faker mess up all the time. So I feel like kiting with AD carry might be a thing if you could hot swap it into while playing the game to like kite a team fight or something like that, but then swap it back when you just need to go back to click to movement. But that's going really far. I feel like that is like the biggest potential I see for WSD for pro play or high ranked play, because for the rest of everyone that's regular people and not insane, they'll just choose one and then stick with it. Like for me, instance, I'm not going to use WSD unless I'm doing it for a video like I did this time. Like maybe when it goes into regulars, that's not the PvE tool, then maybe I can do it because, you know, I'm just curious. But like, truthfully, I don't think I'd ever swap permanently. But I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's a failure of the system. Like I saw a lot of people when it first came out, people were being like, oh man, this is terrible, and immediately switching over. And it's like, yeah, but that's because you guys are 10-year veterans and you're never uninstalling the game and you're addicted. This isn't for you. This is for people who have never heard of League of Legends or have seen League of Legends and want to play. Honestly, it really sucks that they didn't have this system ready for when Arcane came out, because I think this would have made it so some people would have actually stayed. Because like when Arcane came out and everyone installed it and then immediately uninstalled it, that was a sad day. Because there's a lot of people that I'm sure would have enjoyed the game, but was put off way too fast. Because you need to give, in League, it's one of those things where you gotta give it a couple games. Especially if you're trying to play normals, you gotta give it like 5 games so the game knows where you are in skill level. It's gonna be bad, but it's not gonna be good matchmaking at the very beginning, which kind of sucks. And that's kind of maybe a problem of just like multiplayer games in general. When someone comes new into a game that has almost 20 years now, because it came out in 2009. So it's really hard to be a new player in a game like this. And I totally understand why that Riot is trying to get more players into League of Legends, but make it the new player experience easier, which is also one of their things they're planning to do in 2028. Like I said, it really sucks that this took so long, and like maybe the Arcane thing happening was a wake-up call for them, because they had record-breaking downloads and then also the next day a record-breaking amount of people uninstalling the game. You know, like no one that downloaded the game when they saw Arcane stayed, basically. Like less than 1% of people stayed, because the game just isn't a casual game right now, and they want that casual audience back. And I think they're doing a good job with their rotating game modes. Swift play is really fun when I was playing it a little bit. ARAM is still fun, especially with the different maps nowadays. And while I'm not that type of player, I play draft picked and like maybe ranked, but I haven't played ranked in a very long time. I'm basically just a draft pick normals person. I still think it's really cool to see what they're doing and trying to get new players into it, because hey, that's just more players, and I really enjoy League of Legends. Now, to be fair, I also play with chat off, so maybe my experience is different from other people. I would also recommend for any new player, just don't have chat on. People don't say useful things most of the time, and pings and that the other communication systems are all you need. The emotes and the pings are basically all you need. So it's just one of those things where it is a necessary evil to need to communicate to your team, but you only need to do it with pings and emotes, because the chat system is just not worth it. And even if you turn all chat off, honestly, I think team chat is worse than all chat, because all chat, yeah, the enemy team is trolling. Who knows? They're trying to tilt you. But your teammates tilt me way more often than my enemies have ever done. honestly. So I really hope in the future Riot keeps fine-tuning it. I know there were some really funny bugs with the WSD controls when it first came out, like there was an insane Nunu bug at the very beginning and stuff like that. So I'm glad that they're still working on it. I'm sad that it was kind of late, honestly, but I'm still happy that it's there, and I hope the new player game experience that they've been working on is something that's going to help League of Legends, and especially with the new client and everything like that. It's going to be great. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do these types of videos on Fridays, so please come to the channel on Friday if you'd like to check out a new video like this. If you would like to support me directly, please go over to my Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You get to join a community of nice people, and you get to join these credits, as well as a once-a-month live stream happening on Patreon as well that we do once a month that you can vote on. We hang out, have a good time. If you'd also like to support me more directly while getting something yourself, I have an affiliate code for Poggers, which is an energy drink, the more healthier side of energy drinks, so please go over there and check them out as well. You get a 10% discount code if you use my link in the description, so please check it out with code TechnoJelly. And if you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.